Energy officials conclude their discussions in Cape Town today, and they have been meeting to talk about mutual trade and investment relations in their respective energy sectors. South Africa has been battling with rolling blackouts, and the energy conference could help alleviate the national crisis. Let's find out how. SABC News reporter Atule Joka joins us now live. Atule, very good morning to you. Solutions coming out from this conference?
Well, a very good morning to you, Blaine. You are catching us on the third day and the last day of Africa Energy Week, which started 2 days ago. They've been discussing various elements that will help to mitigate the issue of energy crisis in South Africa. On the first day, they spoke about the phasing out of coal and the transitioning to the renewable energies, which was met with quite a resistance. African countries, of course, in the discussions here in this conference, saying they cannot move totally to renewable energy in just an event, but it will need to take a process. It will need to take some time before that happens. Yesterday they were discussing moving from coal to gas, which has a lower carbon emission, saying of course gas is also the future, but it's also a fossil fuel. So they were discussing ways around on how to optimize gas, because these are the resources that Africa has. Today for the first time they will be discussing a zero carbon emission, which is hydroelectric power. That's what they are discussing today, to try and come up with ways to move to that renewable energy. But I will be joined by the chairman of this and the founder of this conference, Mr. NJ Ayuk, to talk to us more. Sir, I was waiting for an old great man when they told me about the founder of this conference. Just talk to us about, from the beginning, what made you to start this conference? We spoke about it earlier on. Please elaborate.
Thank you so much. I think the past was about oil. The future is about energy. 600 million people in Africa have no access to energy. Energy poverty is real. We have to deal with issues around energy poverty in this continent. And second issue was a lot of people who trusted South Africa, they decided that they're going to move out of South Africa to Dubai. I thought South Africa is the best place to do this. I thought it's important in South Africa for so many people who have lost jobs. They've not got a lot of things since COVID. We need to get the economy moving again, and we felt we'll put the biggest demonstration of support for this country in South Africa, but also deal with our energy transition and how Africa is going to embrace that. So we brought Africa and the world to South Africa to drive a new narrative on what we need to do to provide energy for all in Africa, because it is a human right.
Okay. I've been speaking to some of the delegates from other countries and some ministers. They were saying it's not easy for them to just abandon their fossil fuels to renewable energy. But the talk around globally is about moving to the renewable sources of energy. What's your take on that?
We cannot abandon fossil fuels for renewables. That's true. But there has to be a transition. You know, the past is reference, not residence. We need a just transition. You cannot just tell somebody who relies, for example, 80, 90% of their country's revenue on fossil fuels and still drop it because somebody in Europe or America that has trillions of dollars can easily do that. We as Africans can do that. You have to have a just transition. We need oil, we need gas, we need coal. And the whole part of this debate is you have working people who are going to lose jobs. How do we deal with that? So there needs to be some equity and justice in the entire process. But bigger than that, Africa doesn't need less energy. Africa needs more energy. Africa needs more investment in energy, and we need to really drive up and manufacture Africa and really solve our problems. You know, our problems are not going to be solved when we don't have energy, and that is what it needs. And it starts here in South Africa, going across Africa, so that we make sure that every young man, every young woman can have the energy you need, and that can come from renewables. But right now, coal and oil and gas are our driving factors, and we must use them, we must develop them while keeping a strong eye on a transition for the future.
Speaking about that transition, today you are discussing hydroelectric power. There are various projects which have been undertaken in Africa. Firstly, you told me that you are from Congo, you were born in Congo, but you are a South African now. But in Congo, there was a project, a hydroelectric project using the Inga Dam. Do you know about that project? And also the one in Ethiopia, which was going to generate water from the Nile River. Can you talk to us about those projects?
I was born in Cameroon, not yet South African, a resident, and I love this country, and I'm always going to be here. Congo is an amazing country, and I think the Grand Inga Dam could really power Africa. But we need to invest in it. So you cannot just say transition and not invest in that. So if you invest in the Grand Inga Dam in Congo, we will be able to power the majority of Africans with one investment. But also, we'll be able to extract hydrogen, green hydrogen, out of Congo, and that green hydrogen you can export it in Europe, you can use it in Africa as ammonia, methanol, and develop those byproducts to power and industrialize the economy. So you really need to develop hydrogen, you really need to develop these other businesses. Grand Inga Dam, an amazing project, power for Africa, green hydrogen for the future, green hydrogen for Africa that would really develop that. Why are we not doing that? We should be rallying investments. We should be calling on our European partners. We should be calling on our American partners to prioritize projects like the Grand Inga Dam. There is no reason why that project is not prioritized by South Africa, by Europe. That must be the call of the day, because you can't solve energy poverty and make it history without taking on projects like the Grand Inga Dam and really driving that. But
okay, and the second project in Ethiopia?
The second project in Ethiopia, you have a big crisis right now, but it has to go forward. It has to go forward. Right now, look at what is going on. When you start having crisis, civil war, all of that, what's the reason? People, because of energy poverty, you're seeing that. I tell you this, 4 coup d'etats in Africa this year. Mali, Guinea-Conakry, Sudan, and Chad. They've all seen coup d'etats. When you have energy poverty, you have instability. Ethiopia right now is going through a crisis. We hope it stops. We hope the violence stops. Many speakers here have talked about ending that violence, because we don't need more of that in Africa. But look at these energy projects. It's not going to go forward without a stable country.
Thank you so much. Well played. That was Mr. Atule Joka, who is the founder of this conference that we are attending, making a very interesting and very strong remarks there, saying Africa needs to get together, and also European countries must invest in those projects, which are hydroelectric generation projects, which will help Africa to generate power and be able to keep the lights on. So they are busy discussing those ways to make sure that they optimize the energy use in the African content and also in the African context playing.
Atule Joka, live for us in the Mother City. We thank you very much indeed for your reporting. We'll return to the Western Cape in a short while to give you an update. We're building up to the medium-term budget policy statement in a short while. Abra Barbia is standing by for a live report, so stand by for that. We will bring that to you as soon as we get it. Now, the Moti brothers are back home 3 weeks after being kidnapped by a group of gunmen while being taken to school